The case is about the debacle surrounding Dave King, and so I'm not going to go in and discuss the facts of the case. I really wanted you to take one of the many cases around the Dave King debacle and have a look at it, and all of them pretty much tell you what the background facts are. You would all have read the papers since 2002, 2003. The story goes along the following lines. Dave King had reported in just in excess of 100,000 rands worth of income, and had then been picked up as having bought an Irma Stern painting for a considerable period of a sum of money. Also had sponsored a soccer team, and lives in a mansion worth well in excess of 25 million rand. And Mr. Chips, the assessor in Johannesburg, just couldn't understand how he could afford to do all these things on declared income of just over 100,000 rand. Well, of course, things don't end wrong, they start wrong. And where it went wrong for Dave, I think, and this I've discussed with him at a conference where he basically shared his whole story with the public and with members of the audience that attended the seminar, was that being a fairly independent person and a bright person at that, he attempted to engage with SARS on his own. They did not really want to engage with him, but certainly there was a certain exchange of information, and I think that's where it went wrong. And the reason is simply this. If SARS decides to start an investigation, it is very important that, these are the principles you are learning in this course, that you make sure that they are acting in accordance with certain and specific empowering provisions in the Income Tax Act or the VAT Act, as the case may be. The reason why you must do that is to make sure that they are not transgressing and acting beyond the scope of their powers. And for them to start any type of investigation in terms of the Income Tax Act, they have to do so in terms of Section 74A or 74B. Of course, the other way is for them just to come and see you and for you to volunteer the information. The problem with that is that the information is not properly recorded. You feed them a whole bunch of information on a voluntary basis, and of course that information can and will at times be used against you down the line if they should decide to start pressing criminal charges to place pressure on you. If, however, you give them the information through one of these channels such as 74A, 74B, 57A, 57B of the VAT Act, they are compelling you to give what could potentially be self-incriminating evidence. The moment you're compelled to do so, as opposed to doing so voluntarily, puts you in a very special position, and that is that the National Director of Public Prosecutions, together with SARS, cannot use that evidence against you. So as much as they can use the evidence to work out what they believe through their interpretation you may owe in taxes and possibly certain administrative penalties, they certainly can't bring out the criminal stick and use that evidence against you. Now, many people are unaware of this and unaware of the difference between giving voluntary evidence and compelling them to compel you to give the evidence in accordance with a specific section in the legislation. And the outcome is obvious. And in the event that they decide that they're going to muscle down on you, as you can see in the Dave King case, in this Ben Nevis particular reported case, which goes on about a dispute surrounding an aircraft, and you'll recall at the time that the whole thing blew up. Dave King attempted to board his aircraft and leave the country to go on a golfing tournament. He certainly had every intention of coming back. They simply arrested him at Lanseria, didn't confiscate the aircraft at that point, but confiscated his passport, and in fact he was a prisoner in the Republic of South Africa for a considerable period of time before he was then allowed to get his passport back. And I think he now has his passport back, but again can only travel with special permission. So you can imagine that, and then their attempt to attach his aircraft and any other assets that are connected to Ben Nevis in order to execute the revised assessments that they've simply issued against him. They can really cause havoc in your life. So they are extremely powerful, and it's important that you ensure that this power is used carefully and to your advantage, so that if they do mess up in the process of using this power from a procedural point of view, you'll certainly have very strong arguments to push them back. And certainly we have had great successes in our practice and in my practice in doing so, where SARS has overstepped the mark, and unfortunately, us all being human beings, when we're given a tremendous amount of power, we do unfortunately from time to time cross the boundaries of reasonableness, and that is where you want to be certain that if you're on the receiving end of that, you've made their life difficult to now execute criminal charges, for instance, against you as a means of leveraging settlement out of you. You want to make sure that you never find yourself in that position, or certainly your clients don't find themselves in that position. So really the lesson here is Dave King tried to take this thing on by himself, as opposed to getting good legal help right in the beginning. And my advice to him would have been, Dave, whatever you discuss with these people, let them put it in writing, address them in writing, and let's make sure that anything that they say to you is reduced to writing, and you are compelled to give the evidence, so that in that particular instance they cannot use it for any type of negative strategy that might compromise your position. That's all on this particular matter for now. Until next time, goodbye.